Welcome back to Aquarium of the Podcific. My name is Erin Lundy, and I'm the Manager of Conservation Initiatives here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, and I am joined by my wonderful co-host. That's you.
That's me?
Yeah, that's you.
I'm Madeline Walden. I'm the Aquarium's Digital Content and Community Manager, and today we have Heidi Johnson on, who's going to talk to us about eels.
About eels. We love eels.
We love eels.
We're excited.
We're so excited.
We had a lot of questions from our social about eels when we asked what your number one question was. It's about eel reproduction. And if you know, you know. And if you don't know, you're find
about
out.
to know. Yeah. Stay tuned because you will know.
You will find out today that potentially there is some eel information or misinformation floating around out there.
Mysterious eels.
The mysterials of the Pacific. So Heidi's going to teach us all about what it means to take care of eels here at the Aquarium of the Pacific, in addition to describing the six, I didn't know we had six different species that we have here, from the very tiny and stripy garden eels to the big and beautiful California morays that Heidi primarily takes care of. And we get to learn about eel surgery. We get to learn about how smart they are, that they can potentially join scouts for a very specific reason that I learned today, and that basically taking care of eels is a lot like taking care of other animals here at the aquarium, where you work really, really hard, and sometimes they don't appreciate the things that you do because animals be animals, and that is what it means to be in animal care.
If you enjoy this episode and the other episodes of Aquarium of the Podcific, your 5-star review on whatever platform that you are listening on would mean so much to us and really helps us go a long way on that platform. So we appreciate that so much. You can also email us at podcific@lbaop.org. Again, Podcific, PODCIFIC @lbaop.org.
We've gotten a few really awesome emails from people either just reaching out with questions, or some people who have just wanted to tell us about their podcast experience, or, you know, what it meant to them to listen.
It means the world. It means more than you know. This is really a labor of love for me and Erin, so we love doing it. So it means so much.
Every time Madeline gets an email about the Podcific, which she typically feels the emails, I know about it within 2 seconds, and we're usually talking about it for like a couple days. So please email us.
Please email us, and if you have any suggestions for future episodes, we would love to hear them. Many episodes so far have been because of suggestions from our friends here at the aquarium who listen, and also outside of the aquarium. So we appreciate it. Let's get into the episode. Welcome back to Aquarium of the Podcific. Today we are joined by Heidi Johnson. Heidi is an aquarist here at the aquarium. What level of aquarist are you?
I'm an Aquarist 2 on our temperate waters team.
Very cool. What is the temperate waters team?
Yeah, so I take care of our fish and invertebrates in our cold water galleries. So that's in Southern California and our Northern Pacific, and all sorts of fun critters in there.
The chilly exhibits. Yeah,
we stay cold and it's nice.
So we divide our Aquarist team by warmth of water.
A little
Tropical
bit.
and temperate. All right.
Yeah, that's the main divide. And then we've got a couple other branches.
And then there's live foods people and conservation people. Although we're all conservation people at the end of the day. So.
And then we have our quarantine team.
And quarantine.
Which deals with everything, warm and cold.
They have to get used to all temperatures of water.
Yeah, they're the most adapted out of all of us.
Amazing. And how long have you been at the aquarium now?
I've been here over 4 years now.
Cool. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Time flies. That's awesome. What was your background before working here?
I was kind of hopping around in marine science, trying to figure out where I wanted to be, and started off in education, doing outdoor education with kids, which was super cool, in lots of ocean settings and forest settings, and then went from there more into the science side and did some field research jobs that eventually, through working more with animals and volunteering at aquariums and other animal places, got me here, where now I get to work with animals every day and still do some science and research.
Amazing. And do you have a favorite animal that you work with?
Ooh,
doesn't have to be eels. It's okay.
That's really hard.
Individual and species.
Yeah.
You have to give us 2 answers right now. Go.
Well, I work with our leopard shark Sam in Casino Point. He's very sweet. He's always
special.
a favorite.
Can you tell our audience a little bit about Sam? I think we mentioned him on the podcast, but I bet we can have an episode just about Sam.
He's a
I
star.
mean, he's pretty cool.
He's a star.
Yeah. He is a California species of shark, a leopard shark that lives in our kelp forest exhibit, and he's our only male leopard shark here. And his claim to fame is in the patterning on their side. They have these really cool kind of splotches along their sides. And his just naturally happened to form the letters I am. So we call him I Am Sam.
It's so uncanny, and like I love that he's such a figure here at the aquarium. And people have caught on to it. Like it's almost like we planned it.
It looks like someone wrote on him.
Exactly.
Like it just says I am. And is it that he has a slightly different coloration than other leopard sharks? Like is he more variegated, or is it just that his pattern happens to be that way?
He just happens to be that way.
Special.
In our Blue Cavern exhibit, we have a variegated pattern leopard shark, and so you can see the difference more with that one. But yeah, Sam's just special.
He's so pretty. When I first started, they called him the existential shark. I didn't hear Sam for a while. I am.
Who am I?
Who?
Now he's
For
Sam.
I am shark.
But now he knows. Now he's Sam.
Yeah, now he's Sam.
He's
he
got
does
an
know.
idea.
He's heard.
Heidi helped him find himself. Now he's all good.
He's so
cool.
Okay, so we're going to talk about eels specifically today. Heidi works more directly with moray eels. What is a moray eel?
Yeah, eels are super cool. There's tons of different types of eels, and they are a fish. I know they look like snakes.
That is a big question.
Yeah,
what is that?
Yeah, a lot of people might think there's something else, which is totally valid because they're just these tube-shaped animals that have these goofy faces, and you'll often see them sitting in a crevice with just their head sticking out, so you can't even tell what the whole animal is. But they are a type of fish, and they have a few things that kind of set them apart from the rest of the fish world. One of the main ones, it would be that they don't really have scales like most fish do. You'll think of eels as being kind of slimy and green a lot of times, not in a gross way. They're very cute.
What do they feel like to you if you've touched them?
They're very smooth and soft.
Are they at all slimy?
A little bit. They do have a mucus layer instead of scales because they. Oh.
It's allergy season.
Well, you're very lucky. But yeah, that mucus layer is really helpful for them because many eels live in rock crevices where it's not the most comfy habitat, not the classic bedroom you would think of. So instead of having scales that could break off when they're rubbing up against the rocks, they have tough skin and a layer of mucus that makes it easier for them to slide around.
Would you compare it to like a stingray, just maybe a little bit softer, a little gooier? Or,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. A gooier stingray.
I wouldn't say it was gooier, but if you touched the stingrays here in our touch tanks, you'll feel kind of that same texture, but eels are softer. They're a little squishier.
Lovely.
I like that about them.
I do too. Amazing. Okay, so you gave us a great introduction to eels, and there's this thing called true eels, and then there's this thing called fake eels, I would assume, on the other side of it. So what makes a true eel, and what makes a fake eel or a poser eel a poser?
Posers.
Yeah.
Yeah, get them out of here. No, we love them. So a good example to compare them to is a wolf eel, which is our poser eel. It's a fake eel.
Them.
And they're really just another type of fish. And so our wolf eels have pectoral fins, that kind of hand-like fins on the side, whereas a true eel, it doesn't look like it has any fins. It has no pectoral fins, and then the rest of the fins on its body are all fused into one kind of long, elongated body-tail combo.
Does that make electric eels also a fake eel?
Yes.
Okay.
Whoa.
Because they have little fins. I've seen their pectoral
Exactly,
fins. So,
yeah.
I didn't. I've never really thought about the fact that there are no fins on the animal. And so when you were describing it, I was like, they are kind of just like a long sock. Like they're not. There's nothing else.
They're just
to
a
them.
tube.
That's really interesting.
So funny. And I didn't realize electric eels aren't true eels. Fakers.
Yeah, a
They're
lot of
electric
times
and they're
people
fake.
think any eel might be electric and be a little worried about it,
Yeah.
but it's only these fake eels, and it's only freshwater eels that are electric eels, and they're actually a type of knife fish, so it's just another fish.
So wolf eels that we have here are not considered true eels. They're just a super long fish that likes to lay on the bottom.
Yeah.
So cute.
So they're
to me. I
in
love
a group
those
of fish called wolffish, very aptly named.
Okay.
And the wolf eels are the only ones that are super long like that, and kind of the tricksters that make us think they're eels.
So funny.
If you've seen a wolf eel, it has a really goofy kind of grandpa face with giant jaws. And then it also has really visible gill coverings, whereas true eels don't have those gill coverings. So many fish, almost all bony fish, have what's called an operculum, which which is like a hard covering protecting its gills. And when they breathe underwater, they'll pump those operculums back and forth to force water over their gills. And since true eels don't have this, instead it kind of looks like they have two holes on the sides of their heads.
Yeah. Oh, that's their gills.
Yeah, a lot of people think it might be their ears.
I
It
assumed.
kind of looks like ears, but that's where their gills are.
It's in an ear spot, ear adjacent. Do they have ears? Do they hear?
If they were
They
to have
do.
ears, that's where they would be. But they do have ears, so where are they?
They're hidden. They're just kind of
They're
underneath.
secret.
Yeah, secret ears.
Secret. None of
more
my
you know.
business. Yeah.
Yeah, stop asking.
I know.
Actually, why are you? Stop wondering about their ears. That is interesting.
Yeah, so since they aren't able to pump that water over their gills with an operculum, instead you'll see them opening and closing their mouths. So a lot of times eels look really happy and smiley, and they'll be sitting there with their mouths open or look like they're trying to say something but are just too shy, and that's them moving that water through their mouth and over their gills.
A follow-up question about our wolf eels specifically. They are always laying down with their mouth open, but they have an operculum. Why are they doing that?
They're just their own special kind of friends.
They just like saw eels and they're like, that's cool. I got to evolve
I mean,
into that.
I'd be jealous. I tried to be an
Exactly.
eel too. But yeah, our wolf eels are very cute, that they're very cuddly with each other too. And they're just very relaxed and always kind of lounging around with each other. And
They're all stacked
maybe they're
on each other.
relaxed enough to have their mouths open all the time too.
Where are our wolf eels located if you were visiting the Aquarium of the Pacific?
Yeah, we have them in our Northern Pacific preview exhibit, which is kind of by our coffee cart when you walk in on the
If you're
first
getting
floor.
a coffee, go look at the grandpa fish. They're laying on the bottom. They're fine. We get calls about them all the time. We promise they are A-okay.
They just do that.
They just do that.
They just look like
They're trying
that.
to be eels, but
They're
they're
just
not.
living their lives.
So
But
back to
they're
real
posers.
eels.
Okay, yeah, let's stop talking about these guys. Who cares
So,
about them?
other anatomy about eels. So they have fused fins, so they just have no external little fins. So if you see fins, that's not a real eel. That's a faker.
Immediate disqualifier.
Yeah, don't even look at it. Then they don't have an operculum, so they just have a little hole on either side of them, and they breathe by opening and closing their mouth. What? Why don't they have fins? Like, what? What happened evolutionarily
Yeah.
that these fish don't have fins?
So they're really adapted to these kind of tiny environments they're living in. So, I mean, there's tons of different eel species. There's over 800 species of eels.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And then I work with moray eels, and within the morays, there's still 200 different species of eels. So they're all very different, lots of diversity within them, but many of them live in these rock crevices or maybe in burrows in the sand, and they're all in these kind of tight places where it doesn't really do them any good to have extra fins sticking out, getting in the way and getting damaged. So instead, they'd rather be more flexible and streamlined and able to maneuver their bodies easier into these crevices.
Get rid of it.
So I have seen our eels here free swimming a handful of times, and it is the weirdest looking thing in the entire world. And I'm guessing that's because that's not super normal behavior for them to just be out and about in the open ocean just swimming around. I've seen them do it, but normally they would be kind of all curled up in a crevice and living in a rock cave.
Exactly. Yeah. Eels are mostly nocturnal as well. So at night they might be out and around looking for food a little more, but usually humans aren't going to be seeing them doing that. We're more likely to see them kind of tucked in with just their heads poking out of the rockwork.
If you're near an exhibit with an eel in it and it is out swimming, you will hear our guests exclaim, "Whoa, what's that? That's so weird. Whoa, what the heck?"
As they should. They're
It's
so
really
cool.
exciting. It is really cool. I feel very lucky for it to be like a seemingly normal thing, but also every time I do see it, it's like, wow, I have to stop and like watch it.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
It looks like a tube sock in the middle of the thing. Just like, what
Like
happened?
a ribbon. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do they move kind of like how a snake would move, like sidewindery when they're moving through the water, or how are they propelling themselves forward without fins?
Yeah, kind of like that. I mean, snakes have lots of different
That's
ways
true.
to move.
The specific kind of snakes that
Yeah, so I'm sure there's at least one way a snake moves that's the same as an eel, but they're more using like all those fused fins and that extended tail to propel themselves like back and forth with swish of their tail to go forward.
kind of like an S-shaped movement through the
Exactly.
water. All right. Huh. Is that all true eels? Hard to say.
Yeah.
Well, you work mostly with our moray eels, but what type of eels do we have here at the aquarium?
Yeah, we have 6 different species of eels here. So I work with our California morays, which are in our Southern California habitats. And then up in our tropical gallery is where you'll find the rest of our eels. So in our tropical tunnel, we'll have several eels up there, including our honeycomb moray eel, which has a really pretty pattern along its side.
So beautiful. Mm-hmm.
We have our dragon moray, which they're the coolest. If you haven't seen them, you got to look up a picture.
We just actually, Ken took them. I'll show you, Erin.
Yeah, they've got just the coolest faces, and they're very aptly named for a dragon.
He's so cute. Wow, where is this guy?
And soft coral?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, definitely go look at. I mean, look at all of them, but especially look at this guy.
Yeah, shout out to our volunteer diver, Ken Curtis, who took some amazing pictures, and I will have to link to them in the show notes.
Yeah, those are beautiful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then sharing that habitat, we also have 2 zebra morays, which have really pretty kind of zebra striped patterns. Mm-hmm. And then in our living coral exhibit, a smaller coral tank in our tropical gallery, we have a small eel who is a yellow banded moray.
What about garden eels?
And garden eels.
Garden eels,
yes.
Yeah.
Those are real eels.
They are fake. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. People love our garden eel habitat. It's in our Gulf of California exhibit.
Garden eels, talk about a tube sock. That's what they look like.
They're really cute.
They're orange and white striped tube socks, but tiny.
Yeah,
they're
little candy canes.
So
really
they are
cute.
in upstairs in our Gulf of California exhibit, and we actually have a magnifying glass because they are a little bit smaller, and it's really fun to move it around. And I know kids love it too. It's a really sweet
I love it.
interaction up there.
I still do that every time I walk by.
Same. Yeah.
The garden eel behavior is a little bit different than the other eels in that they are always sticking straight out of the sand, which is not something I see our other eels doing. Is that something other species of eels do, or not? Definitely not the ones we have, but they just kind of look like they're growing.
Yeah, they're the only eels we have here that do that. But there are plenty of other eels that are adapted for life in the sandy flats. And because there's no rocks or anything for them to hide out in the sand, they make little burrows under the sand. And we actually dive in our exhibit with the garden eels. And when a person gets in there, they all kind of swoop back up into the sand and hide and are buried deep enough that they aren't getting hurt with the human walking around in there.
Do they have like a burrow underneath there, or are they just in sand? Do you know what I mean? Like, is there like a little hole?
I'm not completely sure. I think
That's also none of our
they are
business.
able to kind of scoot their tails back in and kind of dig it as they go, would be my guess.
They are really fascinating to watch. It's so cool to see that behavior in like something so tiny and it be reactive. Even when you pass the habitat, they can see you just as well as you see them. So they might kind of, go down for a second, then come back out and peek at you. It's Pikachu.
They are pretty cute.
Amazing.
So garden eels are true eels, and we do have them here. In addition to 3 species of morays, you said? We have California, honeycomb, dragon,
Zebra.
and zebra. We have 4 species of morays.
Yellow banded? Or is that?
Yes, the yellow banded is a moray as well.
moray.
So we mostly have moray eels here.
That's a moray.
That's a moray. I
I was
them.
hoping I was trying to make that joke somewhere in this episode.
Are those the same genus but different species and therefore could interbreed? Do people ever hybridize them, or is that ever something that's seen? Is hybridized moray eels?
I believe they are the same genus, but I don't know anything about them interbreeding.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, I imagine they're different enough and they live in such different habitats
true.
that wouldn't really happen.
It's unlikely to happen in nature. That's what we know.
Speaking of nature, where are eels found in nature?
Everywhere.
Everywhere?
Yeah, they're all over the place. We've got tropical eels, we've got cold water eels. Pretty much every ocean you'll find eels.
That's so cool.
Is there like specific habitats in which you'd find bigger eels or smaller eels? Like our GPO, I know Brooke had said there was some monster GPO that lives in Alaska
Haunting
that I'm
Erin.
terrified of, that must eat dolphins because it's so large. But is it cold water that, sort of you will see a trend in increase in size of animals? Our California moray is pretty big, it looks like, but I don't know how that compares to our tropical species.
Yeah, I would say it just varies a lot. I don't know for sure where the biggest eels are going to be found.
Tell me where they are.
But, I mean, eels range in size a lot from, like, under 5 inches to all the way up to over 10 feet. And our California morays are kind of, nicely in the middle there with getting to about, like, 5 feet long.
What's a 10-foot eel and where?
That is our giant moray.
Oh,
It's a good name for it.
XL moray.
It's the XL moray. That's interesting. The more you know about eels. Do you have a favorite species of moray?
I'm very partial to the California moray eel, since that's who I work with, and I'm also a scuba diver and get to see them in the wild a lot, and they're very cool. I know there's some fancier looking eels out there, like the dragon eel, but these guys will always have my heart.
Yay. You like the classic.
Yeah.
How many do we have of the California moray?
I believe we have 4 right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
We have
one
more
of
than we
them
thought.
is living with our lobsters, and then the other 3 are all hanging out together in our Casino Point exhibit.
How's he doing with the lobsters as neighbors?
They get along really well. Yeah, they're cute. This is all our eels kind of have different personalities
I was
too.
going to ask if they have personalities. Yeah.
And this one is like very mild mannered and calm, and just kind of burrows in the dens with the eel or with the lobsters, and we'll let the lobsters kind of crawl over the eel as they're looking for food.
And I'm guessing lobsters are not a typical prey item for eels?
Most of the time, no, but when lobsters molt, they are really soft-bodied, and at that point, the eel might
kind
go
of
after
fair
them.
game.
Yeah.
So do you then separate the lobsters out for that time period so that the other lobsters and the eels don't bother him?
We do, yeah. So when our lobsters molt, we'll kind of scoop them out of the exhibit and keep them either behind the scenes or in a protected area of the habitat where nobody's going to mess with them until they're
harden
nice
up
and strong
again.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Do they look weird when they've molted?
They actually look really similar to me.
You can't really tell.
I actually want to do a lobster episode. Maybe we'll have you back on and talk more about
Yeah.
lobsters
too.
Orange.
Orange, yeah.
We're
Talked all
so-
about orange
yeah.
in Brooke's last episode.
So invested in his story. And he has a new apartment, and he looks
Yeah,
really great in
very
there.
happy for him.
Yeah,
He's
me
thriving
too.
now.
Also, he's not in your exhibit anymore. So
Yeah, he was
even
a
happier.
monster for me.
Even happier
I was
now,
ready
actually.
to kick him out.
Now he's Brooke's problem.
Yeah, and he's doing good because he's his own little bachelor pad up there.
Totally. Complete side note, but speaking of Brooke and Heidi, they went on a really exciting trip earlier this year, and they did a little vlog about it, so I'll link to that in the show notes. We talked about it a little bit. It was for the Young of the Year? Was it?
Young of the Year rockfish surveys. So we were lucky enough to go up to Washington State and join some researchers up there to look for these baby rockfish, and did a ton of scuba diving and surveying, and we found some of these rockfish, which was really cool. And it just kind of shows how healthy the habitat is when we see these little babies out there, and gives us an idea of who's going to grow up and be the big fish on the reef after this, and will our reefs keep being healthy?
So
I
cool.
feel like that's like what every kid dreams of when they're like, I want to be a marine biologist. They just want to go scuba diving in the ocean and count fish.
We
and,
were
like,
loving it the whole
do
time.
science.
Yeah, we were watching nature documentaries every night, being like, that's us. We're doing that right now. We were so excited. Yeah.
It's true. It's 100%
I love that.
true. It was
Yeah.
you guys.
You're living every kid's dream of being a marine biologist.
Amazing. Okay, so here at the aquarium, what do our eels eat?
Besides soft
Yeah,
lobsters.
Delicious.
They don't do that. We stop them
Yeah,
from
that's
eating
true.
lobsters. But the eels I work with will primarily eat fish, maybe a little bit of clam too. But eel species are all adapted to have different teeth depending on what they're eating. So some eels have more kind of crunchy, strong jaws that they can go after crabs and clams with those hard shells. Whereas our eels are, since they're mostly the moray eels, have more fang-like teeth that they use for snatching up their prey. Here, obviously, we're preparing their luxury food for them and hand-delivering
That
it.
restaurant quality, sustainable seafood that your purchase of any aquarium ticket or donation goes right back to.
You have that down, Pat.
I have to.
So they're eating mostly fish types. Is it like whatever fish that we have that, was prepared for other animals, or do they have specific things that they prefer? And like, do they eat herring, capelin, mackerel? Which things are their favorites?
Yeah, I primarily feed herring, capelin, and squid, which isn't a fish, but still gets in there.
That's exactly what our seals and sea lions eat. They're the same animal.
They're the same. Parker does look very
He's long.
eel-like. He is long.
He's 9 feet long. He's a giant moray.
We figured it out.
New species
We
unlocked.
finally found the giant moray. It's been Parker the whole time. He does have fang-like teeth. He doesn't have. He does have fins.
His little mucus.
Well, actually, he doesn't have fins. He has flippers. So he might be a true
Oh,
eel.
he's a faker.
But he has flippers. He doesn't have fins.
I guess so.
His hips are fused.
Suspicious
no,
to me.
seal's hips are fused. He's not. He's not an eel.
No, he's fake.
Anyway,
No. But does he have favorite foods as well?
he does.
Yeah. Same with
Cape
our eels.
Lynn only. That's his favorite
Yeah.
food. He won't eat the other types as easily as his Cape
Yeah,
Lynn.
the eels I work with love herring. That's their go-to.
I feel like it's the fattier fish, and so most animals tend to gravitate towards that. Parker, on the other hand, big man, likes small fish, so who knows? But in terms of what you're offering the eels, how do you tell when they have a preference?
My eels are very picky. I'll just straight up refuse any food they don't like. But that's also kind of a natural behavior for them because eels in the wild aren't eating super often. It's pretty common for California morays to go weeks without getting a meal, and then they'll take down one very large prey item that will sustain them for a while.
Kind of like a snake.
Do they?
Yeah.
There's only so much room in their body. I guess it makes sense.
I was gonna say, do they like try to swallow that whole and then they just kind of live off of that for a while, or do they hide it in their den and then they have like something to munch on for a while?
They'll be eating the whole thing right away. And they've got some really cool hidden teeth that help them do that. So our California morays have what's called a pharyngeal jaw, which is a second set of teeth farther back at the base of their mouth. And they'll use their front teeth, those fangs, to grab their prey, and then those pharyngeal jaws are modified so they kind of shoot forward and also grab onto their food to help pull it back farther into their mouth.
Does that second set of teeth then like take chunks out and then they can hold something while like eating it? Does that make sense?
Are they chewing at all?
Not really chewing,
Yeah.
but mostly swallowing it whole. The pharyngeal jaw might help break it up a little bit, but it's really just to help grab and pull back in.
Stays.
Yeah, eels will also
Or
shake
dinner.
their heads back and forth if a prey item's too large to help break it up.
It's like an alien.
Yeah.
Just seeing that. I feel like there is
Yeah.
an alien that must
gotta
be
be
based
some
off of
sci-fi
that,
movie.
that has the second jaws within it.
I kind of think about our penguins too, and how they have like a
All
not
those
100%
weird little
similar,
spikes
but yeah,
in their mouth.
exactly. Just like a lot of exactly.
Yeah,
Like,
turtles
don't swallow
too.
it whole. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
yeah.
eels are the coolest because theirs move and they
Yeah,
can shoot
very
those
cool.
forward.
In their actual teeth, whereas
Yeah.
penguins is just weird spikes. Same as turtles, which kind of creeps me out. But turns out there's a lot of adaptations to stop prey from getting away. And eels have the coolest one. Do false eels have a pharyngeal jaw, or is that another way you could tell them apart?
So actually most fish have pharyngeal jaws, but it's just the California morays that have the mobile ones that are adapted to shoot forward like
Yeah,
that.
parrotfish have a second set of teeth, right?
Look at you go.
Thanks. Whatever.
Whatever. I just know everything about parrotfish. No big deal.
Just a little bit.
You've done a podcast or two.
Yeah, exactly. I learn here.
So they're mostly eating the same fish types that we're feeding to our seals and sea lions, which is interesting to find out. And usually when we do our fish prep in the morning, the mammal staff will prep any Cape Lynn herring or squid, and then anything that's left over from the giant flats that we break out, we will have the aquarists kind of choose what they want out of that. And so I imagine that the eels do get somewhat of a variety in their diet, too, based on just what's available on that day. So that's interesting to hear. And it is also weird that they eat clams because it does not feel like their jaws should be strong enough to
Yeah.
crunch through a clam shell. Right?
That makes sense. Yeah. Are they pretty strong?
They are very strong. Yes. Yeah. And it's not our California morays here that would be eating those. It would be other eels that are more adapted with those different jaw shapes. But these ones can still handle those kind of tougher foods.
What do the garden eels eat?
Since they're so tiny,
Teeny tiny.
they eat teeny tiny food. And so they mostly get mysid shrimps.
That's what I thought.
That's cute.
And are they hunting, foraging in the wild, or even in our exhibits if you're feeding them the mysid shrimp? What does their feeding behavior look like?
Yeah, for the garden eels, when you put food scattered in the water, you'll start to see them poke their heads a little farther out of the sand and kind of snatch food up that way. And then our eels, they'll be fed two different ways. Our tropical eels are mostly fed by divers since they're such large exhibits. And the divers will take a pair of tongs down with them and hand deliver the food straight to the eel with that. They're very bougie over
good
there.
life.
Yeah. And so those eels will kind of lunge forward to grab the food and then use those jaws to help pull it back in. And then the eels that I take care of in Casino Point, eels are very smart. So these ones have been trained to come up to the surface to their little feeding station and will come up there and get food when they're hungry. Sometimes they come up even when they're not hungry just to hang out. And I try to feed them and they say no.
Hi, Heidi. Just want to say hi.
Just saying hi. Do they each have their own station that they meet you at, or is it just that they've identified there's like a feeding station, they'll all come up to one?
Mine all have the same feeding station.
Nice.
So I have 3 eels in there, and sometimes only one will come up. Sometimes they'll all come up.
If they all eat on the same day or just depends on.
I prepare food for them 3 times a week,
Wow.
but it's kind of hit or miss if they'll actually come. It's more normal for them to come about once a week.
Does that target feeding help you if you ever needed to collect them for a procedure or something? Does that give you a better opportunity to get them out of the water?
Yeah, exactly. Especially since the eels live tucked up in the rockwork. It's kind of hard to catch an eel when it's doing that. So it really helps make it easier for me and the animal that they come up on their own, and makes it easy to scoop them up without too much stress on either end.
I imagine for like vet care, that's very important. And so if you were collecting an eel out, like what frequency do you do sort of exams on the eels, or what other husbandry considerations are there for daily care of a California moray?
Yeah, ours is mostly observational checking on their health. We haven't had to pull anybody up in quite a while, luckily.
Good.
They've all been really healthy. And eels live quite a long time, too. They can live over 30 years or more.
Wow.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and some of our eels are getting up there in age as well. I think the 2 older ones in Casino Point are at least 25.
I heard that 20 years ago, one of them did have a pretty interesting vet procedure where he had potentially a growth removed from him.
Yeah. And so that eel is still with us and doing great and thriving. And what happened with it was it had kind of fatty deposit on its head. And so it looked like this eel had a really swollen brain. It was just almost wearing a helmet.
He was too smart.
Too smart.
Too big.
Yeah. And so it wasn't really posing any health risks to the eel, but having this buildup of cholesterol sitting on his forehead was just kind of getting in the way. And it was starting to kind of roll over and block his eyes, which eels don't have great eyesight to begin with. So let's not disturb it anymore.
That's the last thing he needs
exactly.
is a tumor blocking his eyesight.
Yeah. So we have our wonderful veterinarian team here that opted to do a surgery on this eel and was able to put it under anesthesia and cut out this fatty mass from its head.
And we still have this animal.
We do, yes.
And his name is?
His name is Mr. Brain.
Of course.
Is that because
funny.
of that, or is that somehow separate from that?
He was named before I started working here, but it must be connected.
It has to be connected.
And he is pretty recognizable now, too. After that surgery, he has, most eels will have just like very smooth slope of the head shape going from the tip of their nose through the body, but he has like almost this L shape cut out of his
A little
forehead.
scoop, almost, yeah.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
cute.
What are other eels, California morays names?
So that one is Mr. Brain, and then our other eel, who's around the same age in there, is named Pool Noodle.
Oh.
And that one is another guest favorite because he'll hang out kind of dangling at the top of the tank. He likes to wrap himself in the kelp, which is an odd behavior for eels.
I think that's the one that I always see out, and people are like, "Is he fine?" And it's like, I see him do it every day, so I think he likes
it's
it.
just
He's
his
an
thing, his
extrovert,
favorite spot.
extroverted eel.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we have one younger eel in that exhibit who's really pretty dark green color, and his name is Oscar the Grouch.
And who's the last one that's with the lobsters?
The one with the lobsters, a very sweet eel, is named Sylvia Eel after the marine biologist
Sylvia Earle.
Sylvia Earle.
That's so cool.
Is it a male or female, or is it hard to tell with eels?
Oh, yeah, great question.
We would probably be able to tell if we did an ultrasound exam on these animals, but we haven't had cause to do that yet, so we're just making our best guesses.
So we have talked a little bit about eels and true eels and fake eels and freshwater eels, and now how to tell male and female eels apart. The main question that every single person wants to know the answer to is, do we know anything about how eels reproduce?
Yeah, so this is a very common question, and a lot of people say it's just a huge mystery how eels reproduce, but this is primarily referring to freshwater eels. Those ones, I don't know, I'm a marine scientist. I know what goes on in the saltwater, not in the freshwater, so that's not my job to find out. They can do what they're doing. But our marine eels, we do know how they reproduce, and most of them are broadcast spawners. So they're meeting up in the water column, broadcasting their genetic material, and it will mix in the water and develop into kind of a plankton larva state where it's just a tiny, tiny, almost microscopic eel will drift around in the water column for maybe a year or two before kind of settling down into the rockwork and growing up.
Have you ever seen a baby eel?
Not that small. I've seen them tide pooling before where they're just, a handful of inches long and really cute and tiny.
That is cute. I want to see that.
Yeah, and then as they grow up, they kind of move deeper in the water and will live in the bigger crevices where they're a little more protected.
Do we do any breeding here at the aquarium of eels?
We don't. And actually, breeding in cold water is a little bit of a challenge for eels as well. And I guess our cold water marine eels have a bit of mystery around them too, because it's believed that California moray eels don't breed in California. And their range is from like Point Conception, California, all the way down to Baja, Mexico. And we think all the breeding is happening in Mexico where the water is a little
Nice
warmer.
and warm, yeah.
And then any of the eels up in this area just kind of drifted up this way with the currents, settled down, and are thriving up here on their own, but not reproducing.
Got it.
Do they ever, so we don't know that they like migrate during a breeding season, or do we know, or do we like ever track eels and then see that they just stay in California their whole life and potentially aren't breeding? Like, do we know that if they migrate at any point?
Yeah, as far as we know, at least for the California morays, is that they're not migrating and they're just kind of ending up where they are, following the currents, and then once they find a spot to settle down, that's where they're staying.
Fascinating. So there's just like a pair down there breeding just potentially every moray eel. Just like, we like it.
They're actually the parents of every other eel.
Yeah, holding the
Just one
species
pair.
together.
Whatever works, I guess. They're doing great work.
Exactly, it's working. I was going to ask, are any eels threatened? Is there any conservation concerns with any eels?
As far as I know, no. But California moray eels are doing great and thriving, which is a sign that they're a healthy part of our ecosystems. It's always great when we have a win for conservation and hear of a species that's doing well.
This one's doing good.
Yeah, and they share habitat with some of our other endangered species like our white abalone and our sunflower sea stars when they used to be in California. So it's nice to see that at least one part of that environment is still doing really well and healthy.
With the eels that, sometimes people go diving and then they'll see an eel in the rockwork. And I've heard people describe them as scary or potentially maybe think that they're going to be aggressive. I think it's probably because they're sitting there with their mouth open and they see sharp teeth and people get nervous about that. Should people have any fear of eels in the wild, or what is your recommendation of if you see an eel, what should you do?
Yeah, I think it's like any wild animal where as long as you respect their space, everything's going to be okay. A lot of people are very far on one end of either eels are really scary and I don't want anything to do with them, or eels are adorable. And I think that part is definitely true. They are adorable.
Agreed.
But basically, eels are kind of tucked up in those crevices throughout the day. So if you're a diver and you see an eel, a good rule to keep in mind is not to stick your hand in any crevices that you can't see in, because there could be somebody hiding in there. And
It's good advice for anywhere you go, whether it be on land or
yeah,
underwater.
Yeah.
Don't stick your hand in there.
No.
I don't blame the eels. If someone stuck their hand into my home, I wouldn't be too nice to it either. So they're just defending themselves. And most eel bites, if they do occur, is from a human messing with them, unfortunately.
What about the behavior between eels? Is there any social dynamic to them, or do they burrow together? I know at the aquarium, of course, there's probably some more interaction than there would be potentially in a wild setting, but what does that look like for eels?
Eels are mostly solitary within their own species. They kind of prefer to have their own territories, but at the same time, you'll often see them sharing the same holes and everything. So they're termed solitary, but I think they're still friends.
They have buddies. And the garden eels are all lined up together like 20 in a row.
Yeah.
So those guys are best friends.
And then outside of eels, they have some cool interactions with other species as well.
Please tell.
So our California morays are mutualistic friends with our red rock shrimp. And so these cute little shrimp will share a burrow with an eel. And it's a win-win for both. The eel has a little friend helping to clean up its home. It will even clean the eel's teeth when it needs it and pull parasites off of the eel's body. And then the shrimp is getting a nice little snack out of it.
A little symbiotic relationship.
I love that.
Yeah.
Eels and shrimp. Now we
Best
know.
buds. You're the eel to my shrimp.
Aw, that's
So
really nice.
cute.
I'm going to pull stuff out of your teeth later.
Okay, please
and
do.
then eat it, I guess, is the
I had an
implication
almond bar
there.
earlier. I feel like
I don't
it's
want
still in
that.
my teeth.
Don't feed me
That's
that.
what you said. Okay, so we posted to our Instagram account on stories. So if you don't follow us, we're at Aquarium Pacific. And we gathered some questions earlier today for Heidi. And this is my favorite question. Why are they long?
Why not?
Why not? I love that answer.
Are there short eels? Like their body
Is large.
but they're short?
I would say relative to their size, they're all kind of long and have that shape, mostly because since their fins are all fused together, it elongates their body and makes
They
them look
wouldn't
like
go
that.
very far if they were short. That's a good answer, actually. Why are they long? They can't swim if they're short.
I have a question. Where do they use the restroom?
Yeah, so they're just like other fish, they have a vent towards the lateral end of their body.
Got it. Under, kind of like
Underside.
what would be their tail?
Yeah, so they still, when you look at a moray, you can kind of see some fins. They're not just pure tube. They have a little bit of fin coming off of their body, but it's all kind of one long thing. And you'll see kind of right at the base of that on the bottom of the fish, they have a hidden little vent.
Got it.
I know that you were
Secret.
saying, like, where do they urinate or defecate from? But the idea that they use the
Where do they go-
restroom,
which restroom do they use in the aquarium? Do they go
very
upstairs?
cute.
Do they go downstairs?
they have their own little restroom.
I was trying to
within
figure out
their
a
house.
polite way to ask. Where do they poop?
Where do they use the restroom is my favorite question that you've asked. Another question that we got on social media, and I think is a probably common misconception, is are eels related to snakes?
They are not. Yeah, completely
Totally
different
different.
groups of animals. Evolved very separately.
Pretty good example of how animals can end up with similar shapes and fill potentially similar niches without being the same. You know, like they didn't
Yeah.
evolve together, but they have very similar body shapes and somewhat teeth.
Yeah, everything's just adapting to their environments, and a lot of things have similar characteristics in their environments. So, like both snakes and eels have those kind of pointier heads where they can reach into crevices and find food a little easier.
I can see why we thought they were related to snakes, but they're pretty different.
Both cool, though.
Yep,
Both very cool.
that's also true. There is a movie
A movie.
that is by a large movie company, and it's an animated movie about a red-headed girl that lives underwater and sings.
Does she have a tail?
She has a tail? How'd you know?
How'd you know? It's like you know what movie I'm talking about.
I don't think anyone's seen this movie.
Probably not. Definitely not every person as
Works
a child
here, yeah.
having seen this movie. But in that movie, there are some eels, and the poster wants to know, are the eels within that movie, if you happen to know what movie I'm talking about, a good representation of what eels are like in the ocean?
Or I guess in general, do you feel like the media depiction of eels is fair or similar to how they actually are?
Do they get a bad rap?
Yeah, I feel like yes and no. They, I feel like, are illustrated well. They are long. They've got that down.
Got the length?
Yeah. But they do kind of get a bit of a bad rap and come off kind of like snakes, is looking a little evil when, you know, they're just out there trying to survive like everything else.
Just
But
doing eel stuff.
to be fair, if I was a sea witch, I would want eels as my two best friends as well.
That's also true.
What about their adaptations? How would you say they have adapted to the environment? I guess we kind of talked about that with their mucus, with their just body in general, but is there anything about
Yeah,
the
they're
way
really
they've adapted?
all about being able to fit into those crevices. Even their pharyngeal jaw is related to that. Most fish, when they eat, will open their mouths really wide and really quickly, and that creates a vacuum that sucks whatever food item into their mouth. But since they're in these tiny crevices, they don't have room to open their mouths like that. So instead, they've developed the mobile jaw that will come out and grab the food for them.
Do they wrap themselves like around the rocks that they're hiding in, or could you pull an eel? I'm not trying to, but if
They
you
are
were,
cute. I want one too.
if you were grabbing them sort of around the middle and it somehow wasn't biting you, can you pull them out, or is their body sort of like a huge muscle that's wrapped around and holding the rock structure within?
They are very strong. So I doubt you would be able to win against an eel trying to pull it out. And they have some really cool behaviors as well to give them more leverage against the rock work. They can actually tie their bodies into knots and they're very skilled.
Untie their body?
Luckily, yes.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah, they have several different knot shapes that they can tie into, including a figure 8 and a square knot, and they'll use that to get more leverage to help pull things into the rocks.
Wow.
They're Boy Scouts.
Yeah, they are.
I didn't ask this earlier, but what predates or what's going to
eat an eel?
Yeah, what would eat an eel? And would that not behavior kind of help deter, like, well, I'm not going to fit now?
Yeah, they're pretty much top predators.
Yeah.
They're the ones keeping the reef clean and taking care of any injured prey or anything. So they're at the top of the food chain. I'm sure a curious sea lion might try to eat one. I'm sure it's happened, but for the most part, they're pretty safe in those crevices.
Are they pretty fast can they be fast if they need to get away?
They're faster than me, at least.
Then that's what matters.
That's fast, yeah.
We would probably be their top predator. And if they can get away from us, then they're in good shape.
Yeah, and humans do eat eels, right?
Yeah, they do.
What's it called?
Unagi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, lots of sushi.
But that's freshwater eel, right? I'm pretty sure unagi's freshwater eel.
I think so, too.
Yeah, okay. So we had a question, and I actually really like this question. What is an eel looking for in a habitat, or like what makes a good eel habitat or home within either the ocean or here at the aquarium? What are they looking for?
Yeah, so I talked a lot about our ocean eels that love those rock crevices, and we kind of try to mimic that in our aquariums here. And so we'll pile up rocks. So a lot of times I'll be diving and make what I think is the perfect cave for an eel, and then I'll come back an hour later and it's like used its body to push everything out of the way and rearrange it. And it just hurts so much. It doesn't like my architecture skills. But I've found my eels, their favorite hidey holes are in tubes. And so we'll put PVC tubes underwater, and it's just the perfect eel-shaped spot for them to hang out.
Nice and smooth also, so they don't have to worry about jagged edges and stuff. That's
Heidi holes.
Literally.
If
she makes them, they're called Heidi
holes.
holes. Yeah. That's a really good pun, but I didn't think of it. Interesting. So the eels are picky about where they sleep, and they will choose, and they will decide they don't like the things that you've made for them. That sounds like all animals that we have here at the aquarium.
Yeah.
Where you try really hard at something, and they're like, I don't actually care about this at all. That's fair.
This is wrong, actually.
Yeah.
I could make it better.
But for eels in their natural habitat, they're just kind of looking for a safe place to hide that they can kind of lunge out and get prey if they needed to, but otherwise retreat to and be a little bit shy during the nighttime.
Yeah, they're ambush predators. So their camouflage helps a lot too, that if they can find somewhere that kind of matches their color and they can wiggle in there, completely hide off their bodies, and then just kind of keep not an eye, but a nose out on the reef. They hunt by scent more.
I was going to ask about their senses. You mentioned that they don't have great eyesight, but they have a great sense of smell.
They do, yeah. So they primarily use smell to find food, and they have 2 nares, which are basically nostrils, on each side of their head. And so that helps them when they scent food coming from one direction on the current. They can tell which nare they're sensing it from and turn their head towards it.
Do you see them sniffing stuff when you put food in the water? They like lift their head.
They will kind of like perk up a little bit and turn their heads back and forth looking around
cute.
for it. Even when I'm feeding my eels, I mean, to be fair, my eels are also very old, but I'll put the food right in front of their faces, and sometimes they'll still be like kind of turning their heads around trying to find it. Yeah.
They can't see
Something that
very
smells
well.
good.
Yeah. Where is it? I don't know. It's 2 inches in front of my face.
Amazing. So there's a couple of cave structures in, I believe, just in tropical reef that we can sometimes see the eels hiding out in. And someone wanted to know how the eel feels about the sea turtle sleeping in its cave.
Yeah. I'm not sure who the cave was originally made for. It is turtle shaped.
I was going to say the cave is sea turtle size.
Yeah, I think the eel might have stolen that cave.
I think we got to ask the turtle how he feels about.
Yeah, that's the real question.
Lou, how does Lou feel about the eel sleeping in his cave? I feel like I've seen them side by side in there too. Just like
they're buds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure the eel wouldn't mind sharing. It's probably the turtle that's upset about it.
Lou will actually go through and clean the eel's teeth, and then the eel.
That's so sweet.
It's a symbiotic relationship between the eel and the sea turtle.
It's very unique to the aquarium.
That is not true, by the way. Please don't take that at face value. I don't understand, why are they all dark? I guess what what different color patterns do eels come in? I think that one of our listeners has primarily seen some of our potentially less vibrant species of eels, and so our California morays are sort of that kelp green color, which makes a lot of sense given that they are found here in California, where things are a little bit greenish and murky sometimes. But I know that some tropical species are much more brightly colored. 2 questions. One that the listener is not asking, are they ever like poisonous or venomous? And that's a warning coloration because that is very typical with a lot of different species. And also, what are some of the brighter colored or more special looking eels that we have?
Yeah, as far as I know, we don't have any venomous eels. They do have bacteria that covers their teeth. So a lot of people, if they are unfortunately bitten by an eel, will think that it's, infected, there was poison in there. But that's just that bacteria that's healthy for the eel, but not so good for us if we get eaten. And then for their coloration, there is a huge variety out there. And like you were saying, those tropical eels are going to have our brighter colors. I have to talk about the wolf eel, even though they're not a real eel. But when they're juveniles, as babies, they're actually a bright orange color.
They're orange?
Yeah.
Huh.
They're
maybe to mimic worms?
a little bit, yeah. There's a lot of seaweed colors, too, that are kind of those brighter pop of color.
Yeah.
And so it just helps them blend in a little bit more with that. And as they age, they turn to that more dark, muted gray color that
Kind
we
of like
see.
the batfish. Like they start off with really, really dark with that orange stripe all over them. And then to mimic, I think it is a type of worm they're trying to mimic.
I just think it's funny to imagine them going from worm stage to old man stage and they don't ever get like anything else. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And it would make sense for tropical species that are probably living on like super brightly colored coral reef to have all of those beautiful patterns and things like that that help them blend in.
They are beautiful. Like I love our honeycomb morays.
Yeah, that one's pretty.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah, it's very similar to birds as well, where you see a parrot and it's all these bright colors and you think that's got to be so easy to find in the wild, but then it blends in really well in its habitat because its habitat is brightly colored. So same thing for the eels. Even with our more dark colored eels, there's some variation in their color and pattern with that. Even with my California morays, we have some that are really dark, kind of emerald green, and then others that are a lighter, almost yellowish green and kind of polka dotted, speckly.
Beautiful.
Who's your favorite eel?
Sylvia eel.
Sylvia eel.
She's too sweet.
She's very sweet. She lets the lobsters crawl on her head.
And she doesn't have to deal with orange anymore.
That's true. Did they ever have any interactions?
They did, yeah. And before we redid our Southern California exhibits, the old lobster exhibit had both Sylvia eel and Oscar the Grouch living in there. And that's when I first fell in love with Sylvia because she was so good. She would sit and wait patiently for me to feed her, whereas Oscar would go around and steal food from all of the lobsters. And that's why I eventually had to train him to come to a feeding station so he could be a little separated out from everyone.
It was just to manage Oscar that you started all the eel training. Sylvia eel. Now we know.
I know.
That's the one that lives in the lobster exhibit in our SoCal area. So if you want to see a marine biologist eel, she's in there.
She's in there.
Very cool.
Cool. That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Heidi, for joining us today. And I feel like I learned so much about eels. That was awesome.
True. I didn't know anything about eels before this. I didn't even think about the fact that none of them have any sort of fin until you were describing it. I was like, yeah, they're just kind of long. There's nothing on them, you know?
Just tubes.
There's
yeah,
a tube.
But very cute tubes.
Very
I think
cool.
that's my big takeaway for everyone is that even though they have got little scary teeth and they might look a little weird at first, they are very cute and very lovable and have cute little faces.
I agree with that.
Thanks, Heidi.
Yeah,
that was
thank you
wonderful.
so much.
Yay.